Pick one of these hobbies. Your life won't be the same. Most people think life is shaped by big decisions. The Stoics knew it is shaped quietly, by what you practice every day. Your habits in silence define your strength in chaos. Hobbies are not harmless. They either weaken you or build power. Choose one discipline wisely, and your thinking, emotions, and presence will change. 1. Deliberate solitude. Solitude is not loneliness. It is training. The Stoics treated time alone as a necessary discipline, not an escape. In solitude, there is no audience to impress and no noise to hide behind. You are left with your thoughts, your fears, and your unfiltered reactions. Most people avoid this because it is uncomfortable. That discomfort is exactly why it works. When you practice deliberate solitude, you begin to notice how restless the mind is. You see how often it seeks distraction, approval, or stimulation. Instead of obeying those impulses, you observe them. Over time, this builds self-mastery. You learn that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who watches them. Solitude strengthens independence. When you no longer rely on constant interaction to feel whole, you become harder to manipulate. Praise affects you less. Criticism loses its sting. You stop chasing validation and start trusting your own judgment. This quiet confidence is rare, and people sense it immediately. The Stoics believed that a person who cannot sit alone cannot be trusted with power. Solitude teaches restraint, reflection, and inner order. Even a short daily practice reshapes your nervous system. Calm becomes familiar. Silence becomes safe. From this place, decisions become clearer and emotions lose their urgency. 2. Physical discipline. The Stoics did not separate the mind from the body. They understood that a weak body often produces a weak will. Physical discipline is not about appearance. It is about authority over yourself. When you train consistently, especially when motivation is absent, you teach your mind that comfort is optional. Every repetition, every step, every moment of strain sends a message. You are in control. You do not collapse at the first sign of difficulty. This mindset carries into every area of life. When stress arrives, you do not panic. When obstacles appear, you do not retreat. You have practiced staying present under pressure. Physical effort humbles the ego. It reminds you of your limits while expanding them. You learn patience through slow progress and resilience through fatigue. Over time, your confidence stops being based on opinions and starts being grounded in experience. You know what you can endure. The Stoics valued endurance because life demands it. Illness, loss, failure, and uncertainty are inevitable. A disciplined body supports a disciplined response. You become steadier, calmer, and more reliable. This is not about intensity. It is about consistency. Showing up trains character more than any motivational speech ever could. 3. Deep reading of wisdom. Most people read to escape. The Stoics read to transform. Deep reading is not about consuming information. It is about absorbing principles that shape behavior. Stoic texts were meant to be read slowly, revisited often, and applied daily. A single idea, understood deeply, is more powerful than 1,000 forgotten pages. When you read wisdom intentionally, you begin to recognize patterns in your own thinking. You notice where emotions override reason and where impulses distort judgment. Over time, your internal dialogue changes. You become less reactive and more deliberate. Deep reading builds an inner compass. Instead of relying on trends, opinions, or emotions, you develop principles. These principles guide you when decisions are difficult and pressure is high. This creates stability. While others are tossed around by circumstances, you remain grounded. The Stoics believed that wisdom should be carried like a tool, not stored like decoration. Reading becomes powerful only when it changes how you respond to life. With repetition, ideas move from the page into your behavior. This quiet shift is what separates those who appear calm from those who truly are. If you're still watching, it means you're not here by accident. You're here because you want control over your mind and direction over your life. Subscribe to the channel for more Stoic wisdom, disciplined thinking, and tools to build an unshakable inner life. This is not motivation. This is training. 4. Daily writing and self-reflection. Writing is where illusions die. The Stoics used writing as a private battlefield where weak thoughts were confronted and corrected. When you write, you slow your thinking down enough to see it clearly. What felt overwhelming in your head often becomes manageable on paper. This is not about talent or style. It is about honesty. Daily writing reveals patterns. You begin to see the same fears repeating, the same excuses resurfacing, the same emotional triggers appearing again and again. Awareness is the first step toward control. Without reflection, you relive the same mistakes under different names. Writing also separates what you can control from what you cannot. When events are placed on the page, they lose some of their emotional weight. You stop exaggerating problems and start dealing with facts. This builds emotional stability. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond intentionally. Marcus Aurelius wrote to discipline his own mind, not to inspire others. That is why his words remain powerful centuries later. Writing creates a private space where growth is unavoidable. Over time, your thoughts become clearer, your decisions firmer, and your emotional storms shorter. This habit alone can change the trajectory of your life. 5. Voluntary discomfort. Most people structure their lives around avoiding discomfort. The Stoics did the opposite. They embraced controlled hardship to strengthen their resilience. Voluntary discomfort teaches you that discomfort is not the enemy. Fear of discomfort is. When you choose simplicity, restraint, or physical challenge, you remove comfort as a dependency. Cold, hunger, effort, and silence become teachers instead of threats. You learn that you can endure far more than you assumed. This realization changes how you approach adversity. Voluntary discomfort reduces fear. When life becomes difficult, you are not shocked. You have trained for this. While others collapse emotionally, you remain steady. This steadiness is power. It allows you to think clearly when others panic. The Stoics believed that practicing hardship makes you grateful for simplicity and calm during ease. Pleasure becomes sweeter, and suffering becomes manageable. You stop fearing loss because you have learned to live with less. Freedom comes not from controlling the world, but from controlling your relationship with comfort. 6. Observing your reactions. The space between stimulus and response is where freedom lies. Stoicism trains you to observe your emotional reactions instead of obeying them. This is not suppression, it is awareness. When something triggers anger, fear, or frustration, most people identify with the emotion immediately. The Stoic pauses. They watch the reaction arise. They ask whether it is useful, accurate, or necessary. This pause weakens the emotion's grip. Over time, you realize that emotions are temporary signals, not commands. Anger rises, peaks, and fades. Fear appears, warns, and dissolves. When you stop feeding them with immediate action, they lose power. This habit creates emotional sovereignty. You stop being controlled by moods, opinions, or external events. Life still presents challenges, but they no longer hijack your behavior. You become calm under pressure, measured in conflict, and deliberate in chaos. People trust those who can remain composed when others cannot. If these ideas are sharpening your thinking, you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribed to the channel for more Stoic wisdom, mental discipline, and practical tools to build calm strength in everyday life. This channel is for those who want control, not comfort. 7. Mastery of a difficult skill. The Stoics admired mastery because it requires patience, humility, and endurance. Choosing a difficult skill that takes years to develop reshapes how you relate to effort and failure. Progress becomes slow and honest. There are no shortcuts. This is exactly why it works. When you commit to mastery, you learn to respect the process instead of chasing outcomes. Some days bring visible improvement. Others bring frustration. Both are teachers. You stop expecting constant rewards and start valuing consistency. This mindset strengthens discipline across your entire life. Failure loses its sting because it becomes information, not identity. You are no longer defined by mistakes, but by your willingness to continue. Over time, confidence grows quietly. It is not loud or arrogant. It is grounded in proof. You know what sustained effort produces. The Stoics believed excellence is a daily practice, not a destination. Mastery teaches you to show up without guarantees. This ability alone separates the resilient from the fragile. 8. Quiet service to others. True strength does not need applause. The Stoics believed virtue is its own reward. Serving others quietly, without recognition, trains the ego to release its grip. You act because it is right, not because it is noticed. This habit builds inner alignment. When your actions match your values, peace follows naturally. You stop measuring yourself against others and start measuring yourself against your own standards. This creates self-respect, which is far more stable than external approval. Quiet service also sharpens perspective. It reminds you that everyone is carrying unseen burdens. Compassion grows without weakness. You become firm but fair, disciplined but humane. These qualities earn trust without demanding it. The Stoics understood that a person who helps without being seen is free from vanity. That freedom is rare, and it strengthens character more than praise ever could. 9. Reducing consumption and desire. Modern life trains people to want endlessly. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Freedom comes from needing less. Reducing unnecessary consumption clears mental space and restores control over attention. When you limit noise, comparison, and excess, focus returns. You begin to notice how much energy is wasted chasing things that add no real value. Desire quiets. Contentment grows. The Stoics believed that wealth is not having more, but wanting less. This mindset protects you from envy, anxiety, and constant dissatisfaction. You stop outsourcing happiness to circumstances. Reducing consumption is not deprivation. It is refinement. You choose quality over excess, purpose over impulse, clarity over clutter. This creates a calm, ordered inner life that reflects outwardly. 10. Reflection on impermanence. Remembering that everything ends changes how you live. The Stoics reflected on impermanence not to become fearful, but to become awake. Time is limited. Attention is precious. Energy must be directed wisely. When you remember that moments pass and people change, trivial frustrations lose importance. Gratitude deepens. Patience expands. You stop postponing meaningful actions. Impermanence sharpens presence. You speak more honestly, love more deliberately, and waste less time on resentment. Fear weakens because you accept reality instead of resisting it. The Stoics believed that accepting impermanence is the key to peace. When you stop demanding permanence from temporary things, suffering loosens its grip. Final reflection. You do not need to practice all of these. Choose one. Commit to it. Let it shape you slowly. Transformation does not announce itself. It reveals itself through calm reactions, disciplined choices, and steady character. If this message strengthened your thinking, subscribe to the channel. More Stoic wisdom, mental discipline, and calm power await you here. This channel exists for those who choose control over chaos, clarity over noise, and strength over comfort.